the weather forecast with Coloca and its multipurpose banquet hall, Il Palazzo.
Good evening, beautiful people, and good to have you again. Hope you're having a great evening. We forecast that between tonight and tomorrow morning, the weather will be calm in most parts of the country, with temperatures as low as 13 degrees in the northwest region, and the far north and south regions will have temperatures as low as 15 degrees. We'll have in the north and littoral regions as low as 17 degrees, and the center and east regions will have temperatures as low as 18 degrees. Next, we go over to the southwest region, where we forecast rainfall in Mundemba, Boya, and Limbe, and by morning, we see a possibility of rainfall in Boya and Limbe. Next, we go over to the west region, where tonight is a 0% chance of precipitation in the region, and same experience by morning, with Banjul having the least temperature at 16 degrees. And lastly, in the Adamawa region tonight is a 0% chance of precipitation, and same experience by morning, with Tigné having the least temperature at 16 degrees. Why not find time to go see what the Tison Lake of Adamawa looks like? Thank you for watching, and see you next time.
First Lady Mrs. Chantal Biya receives New Year wishes from spouses of members of the Diplomatic Corps, national dignitaries and other women's groups in a grand ceremony at Unity Palace today. The first week of the 2019-2020 second term ends this Friday nationwide, with reports stating that classes have been effective. Tonight, we visit some schools to make an on-the-field appraisal. The press has been reminded to stay professional and desist from manipulations and fake news during election periods. In this newscast, we come back to President Paul Biya's end-of-year address, where he lays emphasis on media responsibility. Good evening and welcome. This is the 7:30 news on the CRTV with me, Gladys Tata. And as you earlier heard, First Lady Mrs. Chantal Biya received New Year wishes from spouses of members of the Diplomatic Corps, national dignitaries and other women's groups in a grand ceremony at Unity Palace today. We shall be coming back with echoes of that New Year wishes ceremony at Unity Palace today with Enanga Kebi in the course of this newscast. Paul Biya has kept members of the Diplomatic Corps abreast with major political issues that marked Cameroon in 2019 and how the country handled them. This was during the ceremony to present New Year wishes to the head of state by members of the Diplomatic Corps. Ebenezer Akanga reports on the political issues raised by the head of state in his address. Ebenezer?
In his address to members of the Diplomatic Corps, President Paul Biya raised two main issues which marked the political life of Cameroon in 2019. The first one was efforts made to maintain peace and security in the territory. This is how the presence of defense and security forces was beefed up in the far north region in order to curb or even prevent incursions by terrorists of the Boko Haram sect. In line with its approach of global response to a global threat, Cameroon's head of state made a fraternal appeal to all the affected member countries of the Lake Chad Basin to remobilize and redouble their efforts in order to permanently neutralize the terrorists. The second issue that marked the political life of the country in 2019 was the series of measures taken to anticipate a return to lasting peace in the short term in the northwest and southwest regions. The head of state highlighted the major national dialogue, which he said afforded an opportunity to make recommendations, some of which are being implemented with laws passed in Parliament. The president spoke about the special status granted to the northwest and southwest regions, saying that it largely meets the aspirations of fellow citizens living there. Paul Biya expressed gratitude to friendly countries and international organizations for their understanding, assistance, and support in the management of the sensitive problem.
Teachers, pupils and students have described the first week of the second term of the 2019-2020 as successful. They say they have been able to use the week to refresh their memories on their lessons and start preparing for better results by the end of the term. Joyce Tata visited some schools in some neighborhoods in the nation's capital and brought back this report for the 7:30 News.
What better slogan to describe an active class with active pupils back to their books fully?
Even numbers from 1 to 10.
Okay, lead element.
2.
2.
4.
I've learned sets and they've also learned part of a leaf.
On this last day of the first week of school for the second term, the teachers prioritize an evaluation of the lessons administered since Monday to make sure it was properly understood.
Concerning the evaluation that we have been doing at the end of every lesson, most of them are catching up with what we have been doing.
At the secondary level, within lesson hours, some students could be seen loitering on campus, but the administration rapidly remedies the situation, ensuring they all retreat to their classrooms.
Classes have started seriously from the first day. We have already distributed didactic material to teachers. For example, those who need chalk.
Students on their part say they have turned a new page after the festivities.
I've forgotten about my holidays to make it in my book work so as to have a success.
Even though the weekend comes with smiles for most of them, they are bent on making use of every given moment to study in order to register higher scores at the end of the term.
And over in the littoral region, some parents in the city of Douala still find it difficult to complete their children's school fees days after classes have resumed for the second term. Bala Saidu went round some government high schools in Douala to see what measures school authorities have been taken to handle the problem. Here's his report.
According to the principal of Government Technical High School Nilong, Mr. Mbok Albert, out of 3,600 students registered, just 3,200 have paid the total of the expected school fee, while waiting for the 400 students whose fees are yet to be completed. The administration have put in place measures for them to meet up with the financial deficit they are running.
As concerns the school fees, we try our best. We talk to the students, we call the parents. Some of them come and ask for permission to pay the fees later on, and we accept with them. We allow them to write the exams because the day the minister said we should send home students.
In other schools like Government High School Japoma and that of Cité de Palmiers, special measures have been taken for students in examination classes.
Because of the deadline of the official exams, I think we are pressurizing the parents. We are calling them to come and pay. Right now, I think they are okay, they are meeting up.
Parents, on their part, are still complaining of financial difficulties to be the root cause of the delay.
I have difficulty to pay the fees of my child. Now, I don't have any work can help me to pay the fees of my child. Despite the setback, both parents and the school administration are putting effort to meet up with the deadline which has expired since December 31st, 2019.
Meanwhile, registration for the 2020 General Certificate of Education GCE examinations officially ends on January 15, 2020. While BPC registration is going on, that of Probatoire and Baccalaureate has officially ended today. However, the deadline has been extended till the end of February. Our reporter Cynthia 18 was in some secondary schools in Yaoundé today to get the situation on ground on the examination levies and compilation of documents required for the 2020 session of certificate exams. Her report.
They queue into different registration points for GCE, BAPC, CAP, Probatoire and Baccalaureate certificate examinations in Cameroon. The candidates want to complete the registration process before the deadline, each one of them in possession of all requirements.
Just their birth certificates. For advanced level, their birth certificates, their O-level slip, national identification card. For the ordinary level, registration is 8,000 francs per subject, is 1,000 francs.
On BPC exams, the fees is 3,500. probatoire 9,500, baccalaureate 10,500.
Students wishing to sit the GCE A and O levels have up till January 15 to register. For candidates of probatoire and baccalaureate examinations of the French subsystem who did not meet today's deadline, all hope is not lost as the deadline has been extended to February ending. However, they will have to pay penalties for late registration,
which range from 2,000 francs, 5,000, right up to 15,000 francs.
The registration started on November for the normal phase. They are now on the penalty phase.
With regard to BAPC, registration is currently going on.
Time is running out. Candidates who want to sit the 2020 certificate examinations will have to catch up before the registration deadline elapses.
The Minister of Finance has completely reimbursed money owed those who took part in the 2014-2019 exercise launched by the state to raise some 150 billion CFA francs on sub-regional financial markets. The exercise, initiated to fund the execution of some major infrastructural projects, has been hailed by officials of the Bank of Central African States. Clarice Aritakan has more.
5 years to pay back the principal and interest of those who enabled the state raise 150 billion CFA francs in treasury bonds between 2014 and 2019. 4 years was the period it took to bring the exercise to a close.
This was made because as a security, the Minister of Finance opened an account in the central bank to guarantee the payback of interest and principal for each year.
Central bank officials acknowledged that the success of the operation is not only reassuring but encouraging. Amongst the 5 ventures embarked on by the state to raise funds on the sub-regional financial market since 2010, the 150 billion CFA francs secured during the 2010-2015 exercise has been totally reimbursed. For the 3 others initiated between 2016 and 2018 and 2016 and 2021, reimbursements are ongoing. The funds have been instrumental in the execution of major projects across the country.
The part of it went to finance the second bridge on Vuri River and the Douala-Yaoundé Highway, Kribi Deep Sea Port, and partially a Simalen-Yaoundé Highway.
Meanwhile, in 2020, the state has been authorized to issue treasury bonds worth 320 billion CFA francs, a 30 billion CFA francs drop compared with 2019.
Some 100 students of the University of Yaoundé 1 have been handed over their multifunctional biometric student visa cards to make learning easier. This was in the course of a ceremony on the school campus, wherein a contract was signed between the rector, Professor Maurice Aurélien Soso, and the service provider. Details with Yoti Kale Lisonge.
An electronic wallet it is, but also a key to the virtual library, the multifunctional biometric student visa card.
We cannot have all the books that we need, so the worldwide library gives us access to books that we cannot have here in Cameroon. Before we needed to give 2,000, sometimes we did not have. Now it's free, everybody can have his biometric card.
With this card, distant learning is made easier, thus helping students better explore the opportunities in a fast-growing digital age.
The University of Yaoundé 1 and its partners consider this biometric card as a working tool, a major key that allows an indispensable access to knowledge.
It's for identification, it's for the academic records. They will have in that card possibility to view the entire academic performance from the day they enter the university. And for the university also, is be able to track, to stop fraud, to be able to know, identify that the student that is going for exam is really the one that's supposed to be there.
Satisfied, the rector of the University of Yaoundé 1 and bank operator signed the amended contract, which makes it hard to tamper with results.
The District Governor of Rotary International, Anna Kemajun-Kodia, has donated an ambulance worth 27 million CFA francs to the Children's Center in Betamba in the Center region. This was during an audience with Social Affairs Minister Pauline Irene-Guéné, during which the gesture was accompanied with a check of 7 million CFA francs. Here's an excerpt of the District Governor of Rotary International, selected by Joyce Tata.
Rebuild the place to make it beautiful for people who are living there. And the other things we just brought is an ambulance, so we just gave that. And you can imagine it's very important for people who are ill to transfer from place to another one. That's what we did. And we are going to continue because she has many things to ask, many material for this center, so that people can have better life in this place.
Well, we have this press release, and it reads, the ceremony to present New Year wishes to His Excellency the Prime Minister, Head of Government, will take place on Monday, 13th of January 2020 at 2 p.m. And the latest time of arrival is 1:30 p.m. This press release has been signed by the Director of Cabinet, Balugen Ebune Charles. And in this year's address to the nation, President Paul Biya said it is not through media that elections can be won if the contestants cannot win in the ballot box. He was simply echoing the fact that the press in Cameroon has become a platform where manipulation, fake news, defamation and blackmail has taken central stage at the expense of professional ethics, which is supposed to play the watchdog role between the governing and the governed. In the report that follows, Kilian Dandifon looks at setbacks to liability and responsibility of the press in Cameroon.
The primary setback of the media in Cameroon is economic and is aggravated in the private press.
There's almost nothing there. A young man with a degree who's worked for many years will come back and they'll pay him 30,000, 50,000 francs a month. What do you expect? He has to go out looking for other means of filling his or her pockets.
The government has tried to fill the gap through public financial assistance to the private media.
They will give you 1.2 million for a daily newspaper like the Guardian Post with a staff salary of 4.3 million a month. What do you do with that for 1 year? And again, to even get access to that money, you spend about $1 million. You have to pay taxes to put the documents together that permit you to have that so-called government subvention.
This has led to a dependent status that makes media practitioners flaunt ethics with impunity.
If you have a dog at home, for instance, and you don't give that dog food, the dog is tempted to go to the neighbor to get food.
The neighbor can feed your dog and give it orders to bite or resist you, a situation regulators face today.
And there are a few who are recalcitrant, who not even listen to what we're doing. They think they are above the law, and whatever sanctions we do, we give them the spite them and put them aside. And of course, they go even further by taking us to court.
Thus, notwithstanding, the rules of the game are clear.
Good reporting, honest, truthful, not fake. Information that gets to you public should be verified.
The challenges of media liability and responsibility in Cameroon are many and varied, and President Paul Biya has called them to task.
And here's another press release, and it reads, the chairperson of the Electoral Board of Elections Cameroon, Eno Abrams Egbe, invites political parties whose list of candidates have been accepted for the 9 February 2020 legislative elections to appoint their representatives in the National Commission for the final counting of votes in accordance with Section 68 of the Electoral Code. The name and appointment decisions should be communicated to the Electoral Board within the shortest time and possible for approval of the composition of their said commission. The chairperson of the Electoral Board counts on the diligence of all concerned. And this press release has been signed by Eno Abrams Egbe, chairperson of the Electoral Board. Meantime, the Yaoundé City Council placed host to the first National Forum on the modernization of public service in Cameroon from Monday, January 13 to 15, 2020. The event, under the distinguished patronage of President Paul Biya, is an initiative of public service and administrative reform on the theme, the modernization of public service in Cameroon, stakes, challenges and the way forward. Ahead of the event, CRTV's Emanuela Vemnioy examines the challenges of modernizing public service in Cameroon.
Updating texts regulating the sector of authors' rights and related rights in Cameroon is the main challenge of 2020.
We need to normalize the legal texts governing the sector because they have been existing for 20 years and are outdated. If they are updated to include the present context, it allows a good framework to manage such rights.
The stipends have started dropping like dew, announcing substantial amounts ahead.
2019, we're able to pay artists the first session, and right now they are getting advances for the next session of payments.
The 2 decades marked by crisis is giving way to more reforms for a better management of authors' rights and related rights in the country.
There is a commission that creates and controls authors' rights management bodies, but the Ministry of Arts and Culture steps in when need be to provide solutions.
But a chunk of responsibility hinges on the artists themselves.
To pay out money, we need accurate database. Whether it's the list of artists, whether it's the list of their songs, whether it's where they are played and how they are played, because that is the criteria that is used to pay out money. You have to first register with Sonacam, ensure that you register your works.
There are hopes that 2020 would put smiles on the faces of artists and creators of artistic works nationwide.
On our international news roundup for the week, Senegal's Sadio Mane has been crowned 2019 CAF African Player of the Year. The speedster edged Liverpool teammate Mohamed Saleh, winner in 2017 and 2018, and Algeria attacker Riyad Mahrez to the prestigious award. In the UK, Prince Harry and Meghan say they are stepping back from the royal family. In their statements on Wednesday, Harry and Meghan said they made the decision after many months of reflection and internal discussions. Annabelle Tabintor has the details.
In the world this week, Liverpool's Sadio Mane has been named the Confederation of African Football's Player of the Year. The Senegal forward has scored 15 goals so far in 2019 and 2020, with Liverpool 13 points clear at the top of the Premier League table. He collected his award at a ceremony in Egypt last Tuesday. In the United Kingdom, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex say they are to step back as senior royals and divide their time between the UK and North America. The couple will have a baby son, as she said. They plan to carve out a progressive new role in the royal family and intend to work to become financially independent. The U.S. says it is ready to engage without preconditions in serious negotiations with Iran, following the country's exchange of hostilities. In a letter to the UN, the U.S. justified the killing of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani as an act of self-defense. On Wednesday, a Ukrainian passenger plane with 176 people on board crashed in Iran with 0 survivors. Western leaders say evidence suggests an Iranian missile brought down the plane, possibly in error.
And on to this obituary, final military honors have been paid to Colonel Jume Ejengele Blaise. The ceremony was at the 101 Military Air Force Base here in Yaoundé, was presided over by the Inspector General of the Army, Rear Admiral Ngwangale. The fallen officer who served under the national flag for 28 years was described as loyal, hard-working and professional conscious officer. Elvis Teke was there and now reports.
Colleagues and friends could not hold their tears as the casket of late Colonel Blaise Njume Njengele was conveyed into the esplanade of the 101 Military Air Base in Yaoundé. The fallen officer, who served as Inspector of the Army at the Ministry of Defense, was conveyed by officers of his rank. In an emotion-packed eulogy, his former boss, Colonel Njok Baba, described the fallen officer as a disciplined man. The colonel, who began his career as an air commissioner following his training in France, climbed all the ranks of the Cameroon army from lieutenant to colonel with compliments from his hierarchy. He also received several honorific distinctions. The Inspector General of the Army, Rear Admiral Guillaume Ngwa Ngali, paid final tribute to the fallen officer on behalf of the military delegate at the Presidency in charge of defense. Late Colonel Blaise Njume Njengele, who served under the national flag for 28 years, will be laid to rest in the land of his ancestors in Muruku village in Mungo division of the Littoral region of Cameroon.
In our cultural page, there will be concerts and film projections in Yaoundé, Douala and Boya. Among the artists to hold the public spellbound is Tina Venye and Uche Ago from Nigeria. The film titled Virgin Blade is also on the menu. More on the weekend's cultural agenda with Natasha Lehman-Losha.
We start the weekend's cultural agenda with a rising star, Tina Venye, who is presently performing at the launch of Show Them concert in Douala, Bercy. Her hit song Musica will be on the menu. Still tonight, a group of gospel artists from Cameroon, the United States of America and Nigeria will perform in a concert for peace at the Yaoundé Omnisport Stadium as from 8 p.m. On to cinema, the film titled Virgin Blade, directed by Cousin Chinepo, will be screened tomorrow Saturday as from 5 p.m. at the Mantle Hotel in Boya, Southwest region. Let's go to the Littoral region where the film Reine des Neiges will be projected on Sunday at the Canal Olympia Hall in Bessengue as from 2 p.m. We close off the weekend's cultural agenda with a film titled Jumanji's Next Level to be screened on Sunday at the Canal Olympia Hall in Yaoundé as from 2 p.m.
Oh my God. Wait. We're in the wrong body! My joints feel like butter. Oh no.
Have a blessed weekend.
As you heard in our top stories, First Lady Mrs. Chantal Biya received New Year wishes from spouses of members of the Diplomatic Corps, national dignitaries and other women's groups in a grand ceremony at Unity Palace today. Enaga Kebi is just back from Unity Palace with the details.
The presentation of New Year wishes to Mrs. Chantal Biya took place at the east wing of the Unity Palace, beautifully decorated with fresh flowers and canopies. The colors of red, pink, rose, white and green dominated. All colors to portray love, peace, happiness and conviviality. This message also transmitted by the First Lady following her red outfit in all the delegations from the Diplomatic Corps. There was one main delegation from the Diplomatic Corps and 27 delegations for the National Constituted Corps. The first segment of the event comprised members of the Diplomatic Corps, wives of ambassadors and heads of diplomatic missions accredited to Cameroon were led by Mrs. Annie Defoe, the spouse of the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Gabonese ambassador to Cameroon. After the series of handshakes, smiles and hugs, Mrs. Chantal Biya invited the women to different group photos. After sharing a drink, Mrs. Chantal Biya, in all warmth and hospitality, invited them to an adjacent parlor for more friendly chats. She also handed each woman a symbolic gift. Next in line were the members of the National Constituted Corps. Grouped under 27 delegations, the ritual of handshakes kicked off with the spouse of the Bureau of the Senate, Mrs. Tabetando, spouse of the Vice President of the Senate, who led the delegation. This was followed by Mrs. Fadimatu Kavai at the head of the spouses of the Bureau of the National Assembly. Then came the turn of Dr. Mrs. Grace Dion Gute, spouse of the Prime Minister, at the head of the spouses of the members of government. The fourth delegation, led by Micheline Ayang, comprised the spouses of the Bureau of the Economic and Social Council. From this delegation came Madame Helen Atangana with the spouses of the members of the Constitutional Council. Next in line was Mrs. Ann Jodo with the delegation of the spouses of the Supreme Court. Mrs. Constance Owona was at the head of the spouses of the members of the Central Committee of the CPDM. At the end of the handshakes with all these delegations, one could rightly say Mrs. Chantal Biya has opened the doors of the Unity Palace to all categories of persons in society, making it the People's Palace where everyone feels home away from home.
And onto sports. French sports brand Coq Sportif is the new official kits provider for Cameroon's national football selections. A 4-year contract to that effect was signed today between the brand's representative and Cameroon's Football Federation in Yaoundé. With the partnership, both institutions will equally be developing the youth and female football teams in the country. Details with Jeffrey Abane.
The putting of pen to paper this Friday, January 10, 2020, officializes a contract between the Cameroon Football Federation, FECAFOOT, and French sports brand Coq Sportif, 9 months after a memorandum of understanding was signed between both institutions. Coq Sportif is henceforth, and for the next 4 years, the official kits provider for Cameroon's national football selections.
We are starting a new story with Coq Sportif, a new executive also, and I think it's a good opportunity to start with a new story in terms of our design of our equipment.
Signing on behalf of FECAFOOT was her president, Seydou Mbombon Joya, while Coq Sportif's marketing director, Patrick Ouyi, did same on behalf of the brand. Aside just dressing the national football teams, Coq Sportif shall equally provide kits for clubs in Cameroon's Women's First Division Football Championship and youth leagues.
This brand has suffered in the 90s and has disappeared from many markets. And since 10 years now, we listed teams and national teams and clubs that we wanted to go back to reconquer in Africa. Cameroon is one of these huge story that we had.
The contract, worth an undisclosed amount, pinnacles a working relationship between both institutions in the past 9 months, during which 4 of Cameroon's national football selections donned kits designed by Coq Sportif.
And still in sports, Cameroon's top tier of football, the Elite One Championship, shall be in its 17th day of play this Sunday. 9 matches have been programmed on stadia across the country, with league leaders Cotton Sport to face Apejes Onfo in Garoua. More on the fixtures in our weekend sports previews with Jeffrey Abane.
Basketball, volleyball and lots of football to animate this weekend's sporting action. The MTN Elite One Football Championship gets into its 17th day this Sunday, signaling the midway point of the season. League leaders Cotton Sport shall entertain Apejes Onfo in Garoua, while PWD of Bamenda shall seek to regain winning ways away in Melong against Stade Renard. The Limbe Middle Farm Stadium shall host 2 interesting games. First, Union of Douala against Future FC at 1 p.m., then Avion versus Eding at 3 p.m. 6 matches of the 15th day of play in the Elite 2 Football Championship come up this Saturday. Still in Limbe, this time at the Centenary Stadium, Dynamo Club shall face Unisport of the Upper Cam just before the game between Leopard and Renaissance FC. At the Young Sports Academy Stadium in Bamenda, Foncha Street FC shall be in action against Stade Bertois, while Ngaoundéré FC shall play host to Ofta of Kribi. Away from football, the African Men's Volleyball Olympic Qualification Tournament rounds off in Cairo, Egypt this weekend. Cameroon's Volleyball Lions, already out of the running following 2 straight defeats, face hosts Egypt in their last game this Saturday. Basketball fans can also pay attention to the NBA this weekend, precisely on Sunday night, as Cameroonian-born Pascal Siakam shall be on duty for Toronto Raptors against the San Antonio Spurs.
Well, as we heard in the newscast, this press release just comes in from the Prime Minister's office, and it reads, the ceremony to present New Year wishes to His Excellency the Prime Minister, Head of Government, shall take place on Monday, the 13th of January 2020 at 1 p.m. prompt. And this communique has been signed by the Director of Cabinet, Balugele Ebune. And this is the package we put together for you for the 7:30 news. The 8:30 news comes up in under 30 minutes with Atta Badine Umar on Anchor. Take the rendezvous with me, same time tomorrow. Good night.